Hey, V, line them up.
You see in the African American the adoption of foreign methods not related to his African background nor to his political economic realities. And the major problem today in the economic development of black people is the lack of an economic system based on what I call a sound cultural analysis. And I don't mean a cultural analysis that goes on talking about how white folks mistreated us. That is not a cultural analysis, ladies and gentlemen. We got a lot of people here just doing endless research on how white people mistreated black people and getting all fired up over these kind of issues, instead of looking deep into the heart and soul and mentality of black people, and looking deep into the character of black people, and looking deeply at the organization of money and economy within the black community, and using that analysis to create a realistic system. We got a lot of fools here reading Marx and other kinds of people whose analysis is based upon Europeans, and who didn't come in with preconceived ideas to impose upon the African situation. And one thing I pointed out again and again and again, you can look at any African society, and whether it is Marxist, socialist, capitalist, or any other kind of ist, it is poor compared to its European people. And that must recognize then that the problem we confront is deeper than subscribing to European doctrines of Adam Smith and Marx. That subscribing to these European doctrines are not the solutions to our problems. Marxist theory is based upon an analysis of European culture, and his economic recommendations are based upon that analysis. And we have some fools here who want to call it scientific, and as if it's somehow universal and above and untouchable. And yet when they look at it in country after country in Africa and other places that have subscribed to it without being realistic about their economic and social position in the world, they can see that it has not benefited very much those nations and those people. And yet they react by holding on even more tenaciously to a philosophy that even the Russians are throwing out, that even the Chinese are throwing aside, and everybody's throwing aside that this Negro, the poorest of all, who is still trying to hold on to it for dear life and is not surviving. Does that mean Marx's ideas are no good? No, it doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that at all. Does that mean we can't use it? No, I'm not saying that either. What I am saying, though, is develop your economic and social philosophy based upon your own political and social reality first. Now, you may find, as I have found when I look directly at the heart and soul of our people, that many of your conclusions may coincidentally parallel those of Marx. But the origin is not Marx. The origin is from our own selves. And that means that those ideas are our possession. And we don't have to ask white Marxists or any other group to interpret them for us. Any other group doesn't come into us and say, well, you know, our people started and Marx was a Jew or whatever, and, you know, we have the right to interpret what he meant by this and that. We don't have to deal with that. We can deal with it because we've developed it out of our own hearts and our own soul and our own reality. When I was trying to go into business, it puzzled me for a long time. Where is the black money? Where is it? You know? Black people, we hear again and again, if you look at the collective earnings and resources of black people in America, you have to recognize that they are the 9th or 10th richest nation on this earth. That we trade more with this country than does the whole nation of Canada. That we represent a tremendous amount of wealth. And that the problem then with the black community is not a problem of poverty, but it is the correct utilization of the wealth that we have and the correct development of the wealth that we have as people. It is the malallocation of the money that we have, not the lack of money at all. I was interested in one example he gave here of the Japanese tailor who was selling suits for $35, and he's selling to other poor Japanese who could not pay $35 at one time for a suit. So how do they solve the problem? The tailor's got to stay in business. The other people need a suit. Do they go down to SBA and apply for a loan? They could afford $5 a week though. So they pull 7 people together. Then the 7 put in their $5, and the first man gets his $35 suit. The tailor gets paid. The other man takes his suit home. And the next week, the next $35 come in, and on it go. And the money revolves, and the wealth revolves, and there's growth and development within the community, you see. Not looking outside of themselves, but looking where? Within themselves. Because ultimately, that is the source of wealth. Not being externalized, but internalize and looking into themselves as the basis of wealth. And using the revolving credit. These people did not go on welfare because they saw the welfare of their people as being their responsibility. And they organized in groups and clans and so forth and saw to the welfare of their members so that it was not necessary for them to go on welfare. And they took care of their members. And it served some other social and political purposes as well. It's very interesting to note those purposes. Contrast that with the Urban League and the social work approach that we find so prevalent in our community. That does not harness the resources of the so-called poor and use those resources and recirculate those resources and organize the poor in a way that their money can increase and be used for their advantage, but, takes a social work approach of delivering services from some external agency onto the people. A part of the receipt of benefits within the Japanese society was that you had to be a member of that society. And you were connected in that society. You were unified with the group. And it's within the context of this unity and membership that protection for the members take place. I realized as I tried to develop this business over here that the problem was not money in getting this business, because I hear a lot of people say, well, you must be paying healthy rent over there. But my idea was if the Asians could pay their rent in Harlem and make a living, using only whose money? Black folks' money. Black folks' money. They're not even using Asian money up there. The Koreans are not even coming up there to do their shopping. And the others, they shopping somewhere in Koreatown, maybe somewhere else. Okay? Hispanics, it's our money supporting their families, paying that rent. And believe me, rent on 125th Street can go as high as $5,000 or more a month. Favorite Shoes pays $10,000 a month right on that corner. But they have employees there, ladies and gentlemen. They're making money there. That implies what? That there is money over there. And if you can support this kind of rent with our kind of money, then we can support our own people with this kind of money. We can employ our own children with this kind of money. we can train and apprentice our own youth. We can get them out of the idea of having to steal and do the other kind of things that they do in these other places. We can build respect for self. I might have mentioned the fact I ran into one lady one evening. She mentioned that she lived out there somewhere. And I saw some sick Negro piece in New York Magazine. This a very ill piece. If you read this one here. Blacks at the top. Read this confusion. Very, 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 very ill. Pitiful. Because it shows they've reached the top and they still have problems. Identity problems and all kinds of other problems. That Frazier talked about even years ago in the Black Bourgeoisie. And somebody said, I'm scared to go to Harlem. You know, it's kind of bit. Scared. It is a pity when you become more frightened among your own people than you do among another group of people. That is a real indictment, and many of us have that kind of fear.